What's up, everybody? Bam Racing Videos here. I'm the man behind the camera, Brandon Metler, and welcome to the second episode of my new Left Behind series that will highlight the lost, forgotten, and abandoned racetracks in this great country. In this episode, we will be visiting three very different tracks in the state of North Carolina. Sit back and jump back in time with me as we take a look at Taylorsville Speedway, Iredell Speedway, and North Wilkesboro Speedway. The first track we're going to visit in this video is the small Taylorsville Speedway. Taylorsville Speedway, also referred to as Southern Thunder Speedway, is located outside Taylorsville, North Carolina, in Alexander County. Based just south of the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Taylorsville Speedway was a small, narrow quarter-mile dirt track. The track was slated to reopen before the 2015 racing season, and a lot of work was done to clear up the facility that had sat for roughly 10 years after the 2005 racing season. The track opened up in 1985 and has several stints in which the track was off and on in operation. The first stint lasted 6 racing seasons from 1985 to 1991, then from 1993 to 1999, and finally from 2001 to 2005. The property is listed for sale online today for about $250,000 to $300,000, assuming those prices are still accurate for when it was posted. To be quite honest, I think the track could be back up and running with just a few years of work, but the investment may be the biggest struggle. The main racing groove is still somewhat untouched. As I mentioned, it's been about 6 years since any work was done on the track. The walls on the outside of the track, however, are not in good shape. The outside retaining wall consisted of wood pillars with steel guardrails. Their front stretch wall was made of concrete, but only a tall dirt bank remains, as you can see. Let's go ahead and take a lap around the track from up above. The driveway back to the track would be the biggest challenge in my opinion. I neglected to take any pictures, but the only road back to the property was a very skinny gravel road that eventually turned into mud the further you drove. The road was severely decayed and is impassable after a certain point. Huge chunks of rock scraped the bottom of my car to the point I had to eventually pull over and walk the rest of the way. The old pit area is nothing but a huge mud pit as well, as you can see. The scoring tower you see and the concession stand would obviously needs to be torn down and rebuilt, as well as the infield pit shack. The coolest part about this track for me is the 76 sign that still stands in the infield. It can be seen in many photos taken before the track closed down as well. As you can also see, the stands were right up against the track and were not very tall, so I bet a lot of spectators ended up with black nostrils at the end of the night. Thank you to the Lost Speedway's website and Matthew Dillner for providing this awesome photo of a full house. Matthew Dillner is a huge enthusiast for lost racetracks, and I highly recommend checking out his many projects on the subject. A link will be posted in the description below to his website and an article mentioning Taylorsville Speedway. If you have been to Taylorsville Speedway and have any stories you'd like to share, I'd love to see those comments below. Here are a few more videos and pictures from the track as it stands today. The next track we are going to look at in this video is the old Iredell Speedway. Iredell Speedway is located only about half an hour away from Mooresville, North Carolina. In a county with debatably one of the most important racing cities in the country, it's interesting how there isn't a single stock car track in the entire county to complement it. Iredell Speedway was once that track, but feuds with local farmers and preachers caused that track to close for good. Iredell Speedway opened on April 4, 1948 with a huge 100-lap stock car event. Several big names entered the race, including Curtis Turner, Buck Baker, Jim Cook, and Bill Snowden. Several thousand saw Curtis Turner win the first ever event at the track, but that wasn't the only win Turner managed to get. Eventual NASCAR Hall of Famer Curtis Turner also won later that year in June in front of a much bigger crowd of 5,000 spectators. Other types of racing also occurred at the track, including an AMA motorcycle race that saw the famous Joe Weatherly come home second behind winner Alex Singh. Just a year after opening, complaints started rolling in, but the track continued to hold races and opened up for a second year of operation in April of 1949. Local farmers consistently complained to the county that the noise disturbed their herds, and church preachers complained that all the track's races came on Sundays, which took people out of their church. Because of the complaints, State Senator C. H. Dearman prohibited racing in Iredell County in 1949, effectively ending the reign of any auto racing in the county, including Iredell Speedway. J. H. Church, an owner of the track, then turned the infield into a big fishing lake, creating a 3-acre lake for him and his friends to enjoy. The only racing within the last few years in the county have happened at the karting track at the county fairgrounds, and with a former NASCAR star by the name of Kyle Busch taking to the streets outside Mooresville. Sorry, I had to. All that's left of the half-mile track today is a narrow cutout of the calcium-treated dirt track in the woods of Iredell County. The photo on the left is a picture from 1949, which is the same year the track closed down. The middle picture is from 1993, and the picture on the right was taken in 2019. A few rotted wood structures remain, but it's hard to say exactly what they are. In this photo facing the north turns, you can see just how long and narrow the straights were and how tight the turns were. Additionally, the circle structure in the infield in this picture is the same building that you see here in this video I took while visiting the track. A big shout out goes to RacersReunion.com for a bunch of the information and stories I told about Iredell Speedway. There are endless stories, pictures, and videos about retired racetracks from retired racers who raced many years ago. Follow the link below to check out their website. It's definitely worth it. The final track we are going to look at in this video is the famous North Wilkesboro Speedway. There isn't enough time in this video to tell you all about the history of this track. For this segment of the video, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler Williams from the Half Price Concessions podcast. Stick around to find out where you can find his podcast later in the video.
93 times the NASCAR Grand National Series, Cup Series raced at North Wilkesboro. The track also hosted 4 Xfinity Series races, 2 truck races, also with convertible series races, ARCA, and Pro Cup. From 1949 to 1996, North Wilkesboro Speedway hosted at least 1 race a year. Most years it hosted 2 races per season. Bob Flock won that very first NASCAR race at North Wilkesboro back on October 16th of 1949. And Jeff Gordon captured the final race win on September 29th, 1996.
Corner number 4 now. Here he is at the line, and the white flag comes out for Jeff Gordon. Less than 5/8 of a mile to go. And the drop of the checkered flag here at North Wilkesboro brings down the final curtain of NASCAR Winston Cup racing. From the first race, October 16, 1949, won by Bob Flock, the victory here to Jeff Gordon on September 29, 1996.
During those 47 years, Richard Petty won 15 of his 200 races at North Wilkesboro. Darrell Waltrip was a 10-time winner at North Wilkesboro. Dale Earnhardt and Cale Yarborough won 5 races apiece. Other notable North Wilkesboro winners include Fonty Flock, Herb Thomas, who won 3 races in a row, Buck Baker, Tim Flock, Fireball Roberts, Junior Johnson, Lee Petty, Rex White, Marvin Panch, Fred Lorenzen, David Pearson, Tiny Lund, Neil Bonnet, Handsome Harry Gant, Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin, just to name a few. North Wilkesboro also had 4 very notable winners when it hosted the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Names like Sam Ard, Tommy Ellis, and the Iron Man Jack Ingram all claimed Xfinity Series races in the 1980s. Though revitalization efforts were made several times, the track still remains dormant to this day, eroding away on the side of US 421. Left behind by NASCAR for bigger venues with easier access and more corporate suites, now just serving as a reminder of a time gone by before NASCAR deemed it unworthy of being on its schedule. But it was just amazing to think that just on the outskirts of the Piedmont of North Carolina, that there was a racetrack hosting NASCAR Cup Series racing, and it was affordable to go to. Ticket prices were always reasonable and affordable. It's still unfortunate to just see it rotting away, but oh, the memories that it has.
Thank you, Tyler. The track hasn't held a NASCAR race in about 25 years, and in that span, only a few smaller racing events have occurred at the track. As you can see, the track is too far out of shape to bring it back anytime soon. As sad and unfortunate as it is, I think it's time to put the track to rest. This track speaks volumes to how important it is to always support your local grassroots short track racing. Don't forget to check out the Half Price Concessions podcast. You can find Tyler's podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, and more. There are tons of great podcasts that highlight topics such as abandoned racetracks and interviews with local racing promoters, media members, and drivers. Fans of my Left Behind series will definitely enjoy the Tracks of Yesteryear series that Tyler has created. Thanks again to Tyler for helping me out with this video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like or comment below and tell me how I did. I'd love to hear any stories you have about the tracks in this video, and I'd even like to hear if I got any information wrong that you may know about. Please consider supporting me as described in the description of this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video in this series. I can't thank you enough for watching. Support your local short tracks so they don't become left behind.